Do you remember times before COVID? I do. We were sitting with my friends in their kitchen and talking about remote work. They were the lucky ones, already had an agreement with their employer and spent a month in the Philippines. I was envious. Today, not only I'm fully remote, but changed the very country I live in. I can work from Philippines easy. IT workers possess the most portable skills in the history of humanity, the whole career in a laptop bag. We're free, right? Then why does it feel sometimes that I have found a lamp with a genie and made a poor choice of wish? This is Two Digital Podcast. I am the host, Lydia, and today we're talking about immigration of IT workers. Our guest, Global Relations Director at Anderson, economist, former diplomat, a person who has first-hand experience with immigration, Dr. Kiryl Rudy. Welcome. Before we get into any big forces steering those migrational currents, can you tell us a bit more about yourself? Where are you physically and professionally?
I'm currently based in Charlotte, North Carolina, United States. The US is the huge, fast-moving market, has a lot of advantages. One of them is supported by strong defense, best universities, capitalist culture, and freedom to attract talents. I work with Anderson Lab, where we done some big projects together and still chasing some. Sometimes I act as the brand ambassador, and we jointly work on some media projects like this.
Let's go into historical data, which shows that traditionally, big technical hubs attracted skilled IT workers. And this trend held at least until the pre-COVID times. Then we had two major blows like COVID and rising number of armed conflict, unfortunately. Does it change that decade-long trend?
Well, I would like to outline three things here. First, we all live in our own informative bubble. So first thing, let's not overestimate migration, because only 4% of people live outside their home countries. If you look at the tech migration, it's also only 4% of all immigrants, the same share as the overall labor market of tech specialists. So even there is a rise for tech immigrants, but to the global market, it doesn't mean a lot. Second, yes, you're right that within high-skilled immigration, there are a lot of tech specialists. There is a large share of them. Sometimes it's up to 60%. And that's why a lot of governments, they focus their state talent programs on IT professionals. And high-skilled immigrants is mostly legal. And you can ask any immigrant what is the most important. Everyone says that it's a legal status. So here, tech immigrants, they have some advantages. And the third thing, yes, COVID, geopolitics, political issues, they all shaped migration recently, especially for programmers from Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus. But even though it caused this big geopolitical things caused this migration, people still did not move far. They just crossed the border. So from Ukraine, they go to Poland, from Belarus, go to Poland, to Eastern Europe, rather than far countries.
And if we look globally, where are IT workers going? What are the global attractors for such kind of people?
Well, first of all, Western countries. So United States, Canada, Europe. In Europe, I would say it could be UK, Portugal, Spain. Why these countries? Because there's demand for IT specialists due to cybersecurity concerns. Many Western clients prefer on-site personnel. So if you want to work for them, you need to move to them. And also it's the countries with a high quality of life. Programmers, software engineers, they are moving with the families. They want their kids go to the good international schools, have a safety environment, strong universities. So that's the main two reasons why they go specifically to the Western countries.
And in terms of who's losing people, I understand that those people like Ukraine now are depriving of people because of the apparent reasons. But are there any not so evident patterns who are the main donors of IT workforce?
Well, IT talent is especially sensitive to problems at their homes. So they are often among the first to leave. If you look the biggest uh, countries that where IT specialists are moving from, it's Mexico due to the security issues like drug cartel violence. That's the that's what pushed many tech specialists to move to the United States. India is just the biggest IT hub, and because there are a lot of IT tech programmers, that's why we see a lot of tech immigrants from India. From China, there are also a big move from China. They're chasing good education, career opportunities. They're chasing American dream, I would say, and go to United States. Across Russia and neighboring countries, we can see that many IT professionals have relocated due to political pressure, due to war, and increasing internet restrictions. But surprisingly, in the recent years, like in last 2 or 3 years, we can see big flows of immigrants from Western countries as well, from one Western country to another Western country. So it's happening. It's a new trend that we're facing now.
Let's talk about driving forces. Is it taxes? Is it rising of unexpected technical hubs? What attracts people in terms of incentives?
Well, I would say that moving is kind of natural instinct for some people. So if they relocate within a country, it makes sense to just cross the border. There are at least three main reasons why people live in their homeland. The first one is the personal safety. Nobody wants to leave their home until they feel threat. There are some risks. They feel insecure. So they try to find a new environment like this. Political pressure is among of these reasons of personal safety. And we can see in those countries where democracy declines, people leave. And immigrants are the people that, on average, are more democracy oriented than those who stayed behind. The second reason is real income. And here, this tax that you mentioned, currently we see a lot of Western countries, they are implementing such so-called Robin Hood tax policy. So let's tax the rich. And if software engineer becomes senior, become rich, nobody likes it. So they start moving even from the Western countries with the high taxation. They're moving, I don't know, before it was Dubai, now they have different situation, but try to find the tax havens. And also there are some practical issues, some practical barriers that stop people from moving. Sometimes it's very obvious things like lack of money, lack of experience to go somewhere. And it's just looking for opportunities. Usually people go in abroad for the job. It's not like we try to find a job where we live. Usually we try to live where we find the job. And tech hubs, visa policies, a lot of sometimes like broad social openness. Before, immigrants were mostly male dominated. Now we see more women in tech. We see more women in big professions. So that's why they also start moving and become more like immigrants.
There also must be something which pulls people towards their roots, like family ties. That's also very natural for people to be homebound. Is anything changing within that patterns, within factors that keep people in place?
Well, usually if everything good at home, nobody wants to leave. So if there are lack of incentives, lack of risks, lack of threats, that's the main reason why people don't want to go. Another big reason or barrier why they don't want to go, it goes back to the lemon theory of an American economist called named George Akerlof, and he used his theory in the secondary automobile market. When you want to buy a second-hand car, you usually go to your friends because they will not lie to you. You try to buy this old car through your friends, not through the open market. So the same logic is for immigrants. They want to find the connections, the friends who will recommend them something, better schools, better jobs. Nobody wants to investigate by their own, and they're afraid to make mistakes. And again, like practical barriers is people sometimes just, I don't know, they don't have money to move. They afraid. They overestimate the risks. Sometimes they say, well, social security is poor, health system is unpredictable, and something that I don't like. And in general, they don't want to change their lives. They don't want to change the status quo that they have. So uh, it's if you have this adventure spirit, sometimes that's if you don't have it, that could be a barrier.
When I was getting ready to this call, I was surprised how many countries proposed something like golden visas, digital nomad visas. Can we go through that landscape of those programs existing now?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very common long-term logic of any tech specialist who move abroad. So he looks at these tech programs, visa programs, like one link in the big chain, how to get the permanent residence in the country and how to get a new citizenship also in a new country where he moves. So different countries provide different programs, like Canada provide express entry system where no job offer required in many cases. In US, there is a lot of talent programs like EB1A, O1. Even for Taiwan, for Chinese programmers, there is a employment gold card. In Finland, fast-track residence permits. In Portugal, Spain, Estonia, United Arab Emirates, they have, where I just moved from UAE, they have this golden visa and very tax-friendly regime. But UAE, on the other hand, they have very limited path to citizenship. And everyone understands that even though you stay there for a long time, I would say never can become a citizen. So that's everything takes into account when you move when you try to see which place to move.
It feels to me like before all that war period, that thing with obtaining residentships was not so important for IT workers. People were thinking like, I will go for a walk and I will return in 5-10 years. And now people are really looking for permanent residency and becomes even more important than taxation and other factors in those programs. From what I can tell from my own experience.
Absolutely. It used to be a short-term vision, and people didn't think that this new era for a long term. Everyone thought, okay, let's go back to 2019, before the COVID times, and everything will be like the same. But every year, the values is changing, and everyone wants long-term stability. They want to have defense, and so on and so on. So that's why it's rather important to get a long-term vision.
When IT workers, when any people migrate, they still maintain like dual lives. They raise their kids who know from the very beginning at least 2 languages. Are we tracking the second order effects of such movement of people, of large amount of people?
Well, absolutely. That's a very important question. Second order effects depends on where you're moving. And I'll give you several examples here. The first case is Finland in 1947. Finland gave part of their territory to Soviet Union. So it had to relocate 430,000 its citizens. And in 25 years, many of those relocated groups have become, on average, more prosperous, better educated. So that proves that even within one country, if people are moving, it's better for next generations. But you may argue saying that it's only one country. So another case is Germany. When in 1941, Germany attacked Soviet Union, Stalin forcefully relocated to far regions a lot of ethnic Germans. He relocates them to Kazakhstan, relocates to many other countries, to many other Far East places in the Soviet Union. And by 1950s, their incomes remained limited. They didn't have any advantages because they have restrictions on work. They cannot move to other places. They cannot take some positions in job. And only in 1991, when Chancellor Helmut Kohl came to power and Soviet Union broke up, so there were special programs how to repatriate of ethnic Germans from Kazakhstan to Germany. They provided them social support, integration programs, and over time we can see now their kids, they became better educated with a high income levels. So my key takeaway here is that it depends where you move rather than the movement itself.
All those factors like visas, taxes, now getting on the backdrop of very important factor, which is AI. price, which eats out of the jobs itself. So what does AI do to the market for those people? How will it affect migration patterns?
Well, actually, we should be very accurate in our evaluation of AI because still by now we don't see any very reputable, very good research that prove that AI take jobs. We see some cases, and also we don't see any research like very high-ranked research that prove that AI can influence on migration. So we see that big companies are firing people and they say it's because of AI. But on the other hand, we see why they fire. They fire people because they want to save money to invest in AI. It's not that AI replaces people. There's just banks are reluctant and don't want to give the loans anymore to these companies because these companies don't provide the rate from on investments, high rate of investments from AI. So that's one of the reasons why we see that people are fired, but AI probably is not the main reason. Another thing very important that AI development is mostly in the Western countries, which mostly rely on outsourcing of IT. So in that sense, AI is most likely to replace offshoring models and will focus on on-site roles in the near term. And finally, this impact depends on the tech skills levels, industry competence, and who are those immigrants, what kind of roles they play, and how do they fulfill in the AI-driven automation.
I have a story, not actually a single story, which says that there is something definitely changing. Probably we're not able to measure it correctly or even to define it correctly. For example, from my own experience, there's a development team who developed an application, Mama Air, a startup which builds tools to help women navigate health risks from air pollution and climate. They started in Europe. They developed their AI-based technology, and gradually they understood that regulations are too heavy. Time-wise, cost-wise, they are not, as a startup, they are not able to keep up. And part of their team moved to Africa, not because the development was too difficult, because of the regulations and stuff around the development. And 5 years ago, that would have sounded bizarre, probably, and now it feels like a pattern to me.
Well, I agree. This case just proves the common rule and the research that we made in Anderson Geotech LinkedIn page. We made some research trying to investigate how to analyze the factors like age, education, and income. And definitely, Africa is the continent with the lower income, with the young age, and comparatively relatively poor education. But our analysis shows that more educated, high-income countries, older countries tend to be more exposed to AI in tech and business roles. And if you look at the countries that are more risky and AI, from our perspective, is Poland, it's Czech Republic. And the countries that are less sensitive to AI, that's exactly what you mentioned. It could be Nigeria, it could be Bangladesh, Mexico, Romania. China is separate case, is something that I investigate separately because it's a huge market in China. Is different because China uses AI in everyday life. So it's not something rocket science like for many other countries. It's like everyone in the school, in the hospitals, in the restaurants, in hotels, everyone can use AI. However, for immigrants, it's a less attractive market because there is huge competition in AI. And currently we can see the data that now we see more and more AI scholars from China, that even more than from United States. And the recent data from the economist prove that.
Well, that's another question about transition plan, how we adapt and how to we become valuable, still be valuable with those AI advent. But that's probably the topic for the separate conversation. Do you have any vision, any data on how markets are changed when a lot of IT workers move in? So what's going on with the local job markets of accepting countries?
Well, at least I would say 100%, there is no negative effect for the local markets. So tech immigrants, they don't steal jobs. They don't influence on the average salary. And the proof, there was a very cited research by David Cart that he published in 1990 when he investigated how Cuban immigrants affect Miami, and he showed no negative effect. So this already have been proved, and many years ago. For the positive effect, I would say there are some numbers like 25% of all high-skilled, high-tech startups are founded by immigrants. And roughly half of all US unicorns companies have at least one immigrant founder. We know well-known examples like Elon Musk, Sergey Brin, Steve Jobs are the immigrants. And Henry Ford, he came from the Ireland uh, immigrant family. So everyone in US who succeeded this way or another is connected with immigration. From the broader perspective, if you look at the local market of the country, where these immigrants are going from, so definitely this local markets hurts most. Even if you see like tech specialists or not tech specialists, we see the doctor or the teacher who leaves his own town and moves to New York and works as a bartender. We could take bartender as the example of less skilled job comparing to the doctor in his own country. So if his salary is higher in New York, that's good for the global economy. It's bad for the local economy where he comes from, but globally it gives value added and it gives more money for the global economy, and we all at the end get benefit from that. With my own experience of living in many countries, and I lived in China for 10 years, I lived in UAE, now in US, Belarus as well. I'd say culture matters. Culture matters, but core values and human nature are largely universal. People are more or less similar. They want the same things for their kids, the same things for them. So I don't see there a big difference among people. Of course, the biggest challenge that I faced and I see when I talk with other immigrants is about parents who don't want to move from their home. And here it reminds me of the movie Sophie Choice, when you have to make this hard choice. Okay, for the future of the kids, you need to relocate, but it's not the preference. It's more, I would say, this choice is shaped by some restrictions, some circumstances, rather than your just new desire to move. And what influence, what does it mean to do something that matters? I would say that, like in immigrants, like for immigration, the main motive is the same for the work. It's not the money. It's something that you can see that bigger things are happening. But definitely money is important, and you cannot do anything without the money. So that's obvious things. But you get satisfied not with your bank account, just get satisfied with the facts, how you spend your money, how you change the mindset. I would say that's the most important things, to be adaptive. And now we more talk about not IQ, but about AQ, how to adapt yourself. And if your work can help people to adapt and can people to live longer, I would say that's probably the main meaning of everyone's job.
Well, thank you. I think we've pictured quite a complete picture of what's going on. I don't know how other people would perceive what you've told us. To me, a lot of things, I find the inner response to that, because that's also my experience. And thank you for talking to us.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you.